Join me in the pledge. I
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have approval of the regular session minutes of March 26th and 28th. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. And then we have a consent agenda. It was mailed to us on Friday. Are there any items that need to be pulled from the consent agenda for further discussion and consideration, or can we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as prepared?
Having read the consent agenda as prepared, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. And then we skip to page 5 over item number 12. Brock?
Morning.
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 Paul Brosh, Office of Environmental Quality. Item 12 is Clermont County Water Resources Department, Office of Environmental Quality, Lease Amendment number 1 to the U.S. Government, General Services Administration for the lease of the experimental stream facility at Lower East Fork Wastewater Treatment Plant. It's my recommendation to approve this lease extension, and be glad to answer any questions. Have any discussion on the matter?
Okay.
Paul, if you just give us a history of the place a little bit, how we got started into the
Sure. In 2000, well, I'm not sure exactly when it was built, but Procter & Gamble, I guess, I think it's believed in 1986, Procter & Gamble came to the county and requested to build a facility at the Lower East Fork Wastewater Treatment Plant because they wanted to connect their testing facility to our wastewater treatment plant. So there was the ability to collect effluent and influent at the facility, and they wanted to have it on our property, but we didn't want to sell them the property, so we leased them the property with the understanding at the end of the lease that the building would revert to county ownership. And so in 2002, Procter & Gamble decided to close the facility in a cost-cutting move, which I think some Procter & Gamble employees have told me they regret doing that because it's a very unique facility. It's an experimental stream facility that has artificial streams indoors, and there's about 3 of these facilities in the world, and this is the only one that's indoors. And so that allows them to control the environment in the streams. And so once Procter & Gamble walked away from this facility, it sat empty for about 2 years. And we, under the directions of the commissioners then, attempted to find somebody to lease the facility because we viewed it as the highest and best use of that facility was a research facility. And we didn't have a real need for it at the time. After about 1.5 years, we moved our wastewater laboratory from Bower Road to the stream facility because there were hoods and wet labs in there. And they continue, the wastewater lab continues to operate out of that facility, although we now lease the facility to US EPA. They came along and would like to resurrect it as a stream research facility and have done so since 2004. And so we have a lease with US EPA to lease about, what the percentage, they lease about 55% of the building, and we have about 20% of the building where our wastewater lab is. And the other 25% is common area that we share. And speaking of sharing, one of the real values that I see in the building are the collaboration between the county and US EPA is we get access to their scientists. We get some of the top scientists, and we see people from all over the world coming through the facility because it's a unique research facility. It's the only one like it in the world, and it gets a lot of attention. So we see a lot of experts, and we get to interface with them, ask questions, they help us solve problems, and it's sort of a unique relationship between a local government and the federal government, and then the state is also involved. So it's one of those collaborative things that doesn't happen a whole lot. And we also, at the facility, in 2009, we leased it for a 5-year lease, or actually it was an 8-year lease. The first 5 years we leased it to them. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. In 2004, we leased it for $8,500 a year. That was sort of the introductory offer to get them hooked, and we didn't have anybody else to use it. In 2009, we had an 8-year lease, which the first 5 years was $40,000 a year to lease it, and then in years 6 through 8, we went to $48,000. And then this lease extension, I did request that we renew the lease, a long-term lease, but they said because of uncertainty in the US EPA budget at this time, they couldn't enter into a long-term lease and wanted to just do a year-and-a-half extension, that they agreed to increase the price to $50,000 a year. That's basically keeping up with inflationary increases. They also, as part of that agreement, they pay the utilities at the facility that basically they create. So any water usage they have that is over the minimum, they pay. Electric, we split out 70-30%, and then they pay that on a regular basis, and at the end of the year, we balance with them, and usually they're running a surplus of utility payments to this, so we can either reimburse them for the overpayment, or typically they'll let it ride to the next year. The facility is, like I said, it has been part of our watershed program also, in that they have modelers there. We used to hire a company, Tetra Tech, to do water quality and modeling on our streams, because one of the things that I was charged with from the commissioners probably 20 years ago, is to determine what impacts water quality in our streams. And we were under pressure from Ohio EPA to reduce phosphorus limits in our wastewater plants. And so the question was, if we're required to put in $6 million worth of improvements to our wastewater plants, is that really going to solve the stream problem? The water quality in our local streams. And if not, what will? And I was charged, we need to have a better understanding than Ohio EPA has, which is a fairly tall order for county government to do. And we started doing some modeling and sampling, and we had some real questions and real challenges to Ohio EPA, and there was some of it was not based on fact or not science. But with the introduction of US EPA and their capabilities and some of the individuals that are down at the facility, they have several full-time modelers. That's all they do. And we have a really good understanding, a much better idea on how we can model our streams and what impacts them than Ohio EPA does. Now Ohio EPA is looking to US EPA for, and so it's helped us in our relationship with Ohio EPA, and it provides a level of scientific expertise that we couldn't afford to buy.
For their payment, what do we provide for them at that facility?
We provide them the
Do we-
building.
Do we provide cleaning services or anything like that for the building,
Yeah,
janitorial,
actually,
all that kind of stuff?
We do minimal
Okay.
cleaning services once a week. They come in and clean it, but we also charge them $50 a month for that service. So we're basically, we're getting another, I don't know, 50,000, well, 65,000 in utility payments. It covers electric, telephone, water usage. There's an emergency generator down there. They maintain the emergency generator, all the maintenance, fuel on that.
Okay.
And they pay sewer and water. Sewer, there is no sewer bill for the lab, but if they discharge water from their streams to the wastewater plant, it's metered and we charge for that.
Okay.
So it's a moneymaker for us.
Okay.
I'd say we're probably, the 50,000, we're probably making 45,000.
And originally, P&G built that facility on county property, and then when they exited it, it was reverted back to us.
Right.
Okay, got it.
And phosphorus was a big thing for Procter & Gamble in their cleaning products. And we've found that our sewer plants contribute very little to the
Yeah, actually,
phosphorus in the streams.
yeah.
Surfactants.
Yeah, actually, more's coming out of Harsha Lake. There's a lot of phosphorus at the bottom of Harsha Lake, so every time they release water, which they continuously do, phosphorus comes from that lake. And
Phosphorus got into that lake, so it didn't.
right. And so one of the things that's being done at the facility now is looking at nutrient input from agriculture. And they've looked at it from agriculture to residential fertilizer on yards to on-site systems. We've got a lot better idea on who contributes what percentage. And agriculture is a huge percentage. And actually, Department of Agriculture was down, toured the facility, saw what we were doing, and they said, we need to get you more grant money down here to help the farmers put in best management practices. So they put about $3 million just in the last year into and made available to the East Fork watershed, Clermont and Brown, basically, for best management practices. And we now have 12,000 acres of cover crop that's on agricultural fields to help reduce nutrient runoff, and we're actually measuring what that impact is. So once we get a good scientific measure of that impact of the runoff of agriculture and what the reduction is when you put a cover crop on there, we could then predict how many acres of cover crops do we need to protect the watershed. And so there's a lot of information coming out of that facility. It's a great asset to the county to have the collaboration there.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, anytime. And you're invited for a tour anytime. I don't know that you've been down there recently.
I haven't been down there recently.
I haven't been down recently, but I've been down there a year or so ago. So
Yeah, and Commissioner Payne, I'd be glad to show you our wastewater lab, what our folks are doing. They'd be glad to meet you too, I'm sure.
Love to. Okay,
All right.
thank you.
we have a motion to approve and execute the lease agreement number 1 to the U.S. government lease for real property as contained in item 12.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. Item 13, pay our bills. We have bills in the amount of $992,404.69. We have a motion to pay our bills as contained in item 13.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. 14.
Okay, 14 are our supplemental appropriations for this week. In the Common Pleas Clerk Computerization Fund, there is a couple of increases. One is $1,000 in the fringe benefits to account for the final 2018 selections. And we also have $5,000 in other expenses for software. This is available in their fund balance that they collect in the computerization fund. Then we have in the Middle East Fork Sewer Assessment an appropriation of $3,661.31 in other expenses. This is actually an assessment fund that was, the debt service was paid off previously, and we received some delinquent payments, so we're going to appropriate to pay those advances back. And finally, in the Park District Capital Project Fund, $735,000 for their Shore Park project.
What's that called?
Did you hear that whistle?
I did.
I didn't like
Shore
it.
Park?
Shore Park.
Shore Park.
Sure.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the supplemental appropriations as contained in item 14?
Just one question. Suki, I know later in this agenda, isn't there like there's a Park District 1.7 or something?
It's yes, and actually it was part of the consent. Park District, in order to fund their capital projects, they have separate funds for each one of the major ones. They move it from their general park fund.
Okay.
So there's $1.7 million moving over for capital projects. They already had some of that appropriated, but not enough for this entire Shore Park project.
Okay.
So that's all part of that, the levy that's coming in and the plans that they have with those levy funds.
Item number 14, so moved.
Second?
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. Item 15. Hi, Terry.
Morning. Hello. I'm Terry Brandenburg, HR Coordinator for the Board of County Commissioners. I'm bringing this morning a motion to amend Appendix 4.09 of the Clermont County Personnel Policy and Procedure Manual with respect to the Clermont County Classification Plan to add the position of a System Cabling Coordinator, classification number 69139, pay range 16, effective today, April 4th, 2018, and further to authorize and update the appropriate internet links and appendices accordingly.
Do we have a motion to amend Appendix 4.09 of the Clermont County Personnel Policy
So
and
moved.
Procedure Manual? Second?
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. Item 16.
Okay, and I'm bringing forward also a recommendation from Brandon Hebner, Director of the Information Systems Department, with the concurrence of Tom Eigel, County Administrator, to adopt a revised table of organization for the ISD Department, or ISD, to amend the current position of one Systems Coordinator, classification 69141, pay range A, from full-time to part-time, effective May 1st, 2018, and to delete the position of one Cabling Coordinator, class number 59163, pay range 14, and to add the position of one System Cabling Coordinator, class number 69139, pay range 16, effective April 11th, 2018, as outlined in Exhibit A, attached hereto and made a part hereof, and further to authorize the update of the appropriate internet links and appendices accordingly.
Good. Do we have a motion to revise the table of organization for the Information System Department as contained in item 16?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Terry, what was the, or Brandon, what was the budget impact of these moves? It was a savings to the county?
There was a savings.
There is a savings, I don't have the numbers right.
Okay, but there was a savings to the county.
Savings to both the telephone fund as well as the general fund.
Okay,
It's listed in the topic paper that was disseminated.
okay.
Is there any other business?
That's all?
Okay. Then we have time for public participation. Is there anyone here that would like to chat with us? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second?
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. That concludes our business for today. Thanks for joining us, and God bless.